All right, the Padres, they know their opponent. It is going to be the Atlanta Braves, and I've got a series preview here. Tomorrow, game one, it's going to be at 5:38. That is on ESPN. Game two, and that obviously is going to be necessary because it's best of three. That is going to be at Petco. That is going to be same time, 5:38. And then a possible game three would be happening on Thursday. That's at 4:08, and that would be on ESPN. Wednesday's game is on ESPN2, tomorrow on ESPN. Again, the first two games, 5:38 Pacific time, and then game three, 4:08 if necessary. Games 1 and 3 on ESPN. Game 2 is on ESPN2. And we know the starting pitchers for the Padres. That was announced today. Michael King, game 1. Joe Musgrove, game 2. Dylan Cease, game 3. I was not surprised by the three guys that were picked by the Padres. I was surprised a little bit by the order, though. But when you think about it, it does make sense. Michael King was going to pitch over the weekend in Arizona, so he was next up out of these guys, right, to pitch. And so they're going with Michael King, game 1. And if you think about it from who deserves it, Michael King's been the most consistent Padres starter all season long. He never went on the IL. He didn't have those huge bumps in the road. Sure, he gave up homers at the beginning of the year. I'm not saying every start was great, but he has been solid all season long. And recently, he hasn't allowed more than 2 earned runs in a start since, I think, the beginning is his first start in August. And you look at Dylan Cease, if the Padres can get this done in the first 2 games, then you can have Dylan Cease pitch game 1 in LA against the Dodgers. Sign me up for that. And you could have him pitch game 3 if it goes to that. And this is the luxury that the Padres have. They have Yu Darvish, first off, in the bullpen, which I love his mentality. Mike Schilt pretty much said that Yu's willing to do whatever to help the team, whatever his role is going to be. Okay. You have that in the bullpen. He would be in many teams' probably rotation in a wild card series. You have Dylan Cease as the 3 starter. This guy threw a no-hitter earlier this year. He would be an ace, the ace, on some playoff rotations, I would imagine. But the Padres, and this isn't a timing thing like, oh, Dylan Cease pitched the last game. The Padres were trying to get into the postseason, so that's why he's pitching game 3. No. He could have pitched game 1 if they wanted him to. He's pitching game 3, and it's because of the 2 guys in front of him. Get Joe Musgrove guaranteed to start a home playoff game, and he's been pitching well since coming off the IL. He's a dog competitor. And you have Michael King, who's a competitor as well, and he deserves to be starting in this wild card series. When I was saying this a couple weeks ago or a week ago about maybe what's best is Michael King to be out of the bullpen because he has that bullpen experience, and Darvish, you're not going to have him start a game. That contract that he's on, that would just be interesting. I was saying that before he has continued to have starts of allowing 2 earned runs or less. And then Darvish, he had those early inning struggles in that last outing. I don't know if that tipped scales, but at the end of the day, the 3 that deserve it right now the most are the guys that are going to be starting in this wild card series. And so I'm pumped for Michael King to get his first postseason start. I'm pumped to see Joe Musgrove obviously back in the postseason, repping his hometown. And then Dylan Cease, hopefully we see him game 1 of that division series against the Dodgers because this Brave series is going to be over in 2 games. The Padres, they have a lot of advantages here in this wild card series going in. Now, Manny said today when he was speaking to the media, essentially, yeah, these are advantages now. We have the advantage now, but is that going to mean something? Are we going to have that advantage come 5:30 tomorrow night? The advantages we can lay out. The Braves, I don't know if they're in San Diego yet. I'm recording this a little before 8 p.m. Pacific time here. They had to fly cross country after playing a doubleheader, and their bullpen situation is obviously not in as good of a spot as the Padres. Oh, and they have an injury to Chris Sale, which threw a whole knot into everything because they lose game 1 to the Mets. So then they had to throw a different guy in game 2. And they also used Ronaldo Lopez in that game because they want to make sure that they win that game. and they used their high leverage relievers, obviously. So it's going to be interesting. If they use their high leverage relievers in every game and it goes 3 games, those relievers would be pitching on 4 consecutive days in a row. So, yeah, the Padres, they do have that advantage there. And I can go through it because I just made a Braves bullpen usage chart. Thank you to that suggestion to the fan that DM'd me saying, hey, can you make William is his name. Thank you, William, if you're watching this. Because he shared that suggestion. I was like, yeah, that's a good suggestion. So here it is. Rayso Iglesias going into tomorrow 3 times in the last 4 days. Jimenez 2 times in the last 3 days. Bummer pitched today. Pierce Johnson pitched today, 2 of the last 3 days for him. Holmes is not going to throw tomorrow. He has combined for over 70 pitches in the last 2 days. Hernandez has combined for 50 pitches in the last 2 days. And Ronaldo Lopez, I thought maybe they would start him in the wild card series in one of these games, but Lopez threw 73 pitches on the 28th, and he threw 15 today. So you go looking down that line, that is pretty much their entire bullpen, other than, I think, Luke Jackson and Jesse Chavez that pitched today. And then the cross-country flight, and then no Chris Sale, who was dealing with back spasms. And Brian Snitker said, according to Mark Baumann, that he doesn't expect Chris Sale to be available in San Diego during this wild card series. So that obviously is a huge plus for the Padres. I think his velocity was down his last outing, and he felt it, I think, yesterday. And so it seemed like the Braves knew he wasn't going to be pitching in game 2. They just weren't going to say it publicly, obviously, which is totally understandable. But yeah, if he's not available, and then the Padres, they obviously have their full rotation. They've got their bullpen, and it's the deepest bullpen in the league, in my opinion. I think it's the best bullpen in the league, in my opinion. I know I'm biased, but that's just what I've got. And the Braves are going to throw Ian Anderson, AJ Smith-Shawver, or Bryce Elder, according to Mark Bowman for MLB.com. They're the top candidates to start game 1 against the Padres. And the Padres have Michael King. And then they've got Joe. And then they've got Dylan Cease if it gets to 3 games. And they've got Yu Darvish waiting in the bullpen. Darvish would easily be pitching in one of these games for the Braves. And we have him not game 4, as the 4th guy, as a reliever in the bullpen. And someone that would pitch game 1 of the division series if it went all 3 games. So the Padres, they definitely have the advantage. If you look at the lineup and you look at the Braves lineup, that game 1 that they lost, they should have won because they came back. And then Pierce Johnson was helping the Padres out there because the Braves had to tax more guys in that second game. And if Pierce Johnson didn't allow that, then the Braves would have won that game, maybe, and it would have been less taxing on the Braves, obviously, because they wouldn't have had to play the doubleheader. But in that 3-0 win that they had in the second game, I don't know how much we should take from that game, to be honest, because the Braves clearly were not trying their hardest. Francisco Lindor was not in the lineup. I shouldn't say the players weren't trying, but Francisco Lindor was not in the lineup. Jose Iglesias was their 2-hitter. Their 2-hitter. Brandon Nimmo was their 3-hitter. They weren't playing all of their top guys. They had a defensive guy, and Eddie Alvarez, hitting 9th in that game. They started Joey Lucchesi, who actually pitched well, 6 innings, 1 earned run. So good for him. But that was not their top effort, obviously. They did not want to use their top guys. While the Braves, they used Ronaldo Lopez. They used Jimenez. They used Iglesias. And Jimenez and Iglesias, those are their 2 top relievers. Those are their 8th and 9th inning guys. So we'll see what effect that has on the Braves. Now, those guys did not pitch yesterday because the Braves were not in a situation to go win that game yesterday. So they used the lower leverage guys. So that could serve them well tomorrow. But again, if it goes to 3 games, then maybe that fatigue really sets in, and that would be the 4th consecutive day for the high leverage relievers if that ends up being the case, or 3 times in 4 days, and we'll see what happens there. Now, the Padres, obviously, with Robert Suarez, there's questions there. Tanner Scott, I'm more confident in Tanner Scott right now than Robert Suarez. I'm more confident in Jason Adam out of the big three than the other two. It's going to be interesting to see, though, like what the order is going to be. And I assume it's not just going to be, okay, you have the seventh inning, you have the eighth inning, you have the ninth inning. I assume it's going to be, we get 27 outs. I don't care how we get it. We're doing this on matchups. If one guy's going to cover 4 outs, okay. If another guy covers 2 outs to end an inning, okay. If another guy pitches just one full inning like usual, okay. Whatever the best lane is for that guy, it might not be that typical role that they might be used to. But guess what? This is the postseason. Do you want it or not? Right? We didn't just get here to get here. Right? So, and I'm not worried about that with this Padres team. This isn't last year. This team, they have a bunch of team players. They're all fighting in it together. So, can't wait for tomorrow. That's a little bit of a series preview. What should you look for in the lineup? Michael Harris, Ozzy Albies, Marcelo Zuna has been their best offensive player. He has a 924 OPS, so he'll be probably hitting third. Matt Olson, Jorge Soler. They've got guys that can get you with the homer. Ramon Laureano, Gio Urshela is in there. Sean Murphy's catching. Orlando Arcia is at short. So that was their A lineup today, obviously, for game 2, a game that they had to win. So I would look at that. And then I did want to pull up for you Michael King. How has he done, just at least going into tomorrow, how has he done against the Atlanta Braves in his career? And I don't know if this is totally accurate, but MLB.com says he has not faced any of them. So I don't know if that's their system that hasn't loaded or if he actually hasn't faced any of them. So he must have not pitched in Atlanta. I'm double checking the game logs right now. 1 second. Yeah, did not face them in Atlanta. Didn't face Atlanta once this season. So that's interesting. So yeah, that's what I've got. Hopefully that PS with the heart is going to be in center field. Again, 5:38 is going to be the first pitch tomorrow. Shadows will play a factor. I should mention that. So I think the advantage would be to the Padres on that with the nasty pitching that they have. So yeah, we have the advantages. But again, are they going to show up come 5:30 tomorrow? 5:38 tomorrow. They've got the offense. I mean, Jackson Merrill in the postseason, Manny was talking about this as well to the media. Is he going to treat this differently than another game? In a good way. Because in other regular season games, in just about every regular season game, it feels like he plays like it's the postseason. We could say the same thing about someone like Jurickson Profar and Luis Arise. So this team's ready. They've got the talent. They're a team. And they've got some of those advantages. So can't wait. Padres, Braves, give me your thoughts on what you think's going to happen. Are you nervous? Are you super confident? Give me your thoughts in the comments. Have a good night.